Hello. Today we will be speaking about the Cambridge IGCSE music listening paper. This is a revision video regarding Section A, Western music. So what we're going to do today is talk through a sentence or two about elements and style of all the Western art music genres that we may run into when it comes to Section A. So this is not a starter video, it's not going through the entire syllabus. This is just a revision video. So just know that throughout this video, as you move along, we are touching on some points. This is definitely not an exhaustive video or a full teaching video. It's just for revision, and there are some tips and tricks on how to recognize one genre of music as opposed to another regarding Western music. So let's hop right in. We're going to start chronologically. So this video does have a specific order, not because we like any Western music more than another, but we are going in chronological order. So the very first Western art music that Cambridge has asked us to engage with is Baroque music. With Baroque music, we're thinking about the years 1600 to 1750. These are just dates to help us segment information in time, in history. Of course, the world doesn't work like this. Everything is just organic. Time is organic. Time moves on. Some people compose Baroque things or Baroque type style things way after 1750. But just for us to study history well, to be able to get a hold on these things, we segment it almost as a puzzle. This is just for study purposes, musicology purposes, but just be aware, time doesn't work like this, in case you're wondering. So elements of Baroque music include dramatic melodies, intricate counterpoint. And counterpoint refers to multiple melodies being woven together in a polyphonic texture. We also have strong bass lines in Baroque music. Basically, we have the figured bass. It's almost like a strong foundation of a building. It's the strong foundation of Baroque music, a figured bass. And we will either have this being played by a Baroque keyboard instrument joined with a low Baroque string instrument. We also have a strong focus on harmony as well as tension and release. This is important in this type of music because in what came before this genre, Renaissance type music, the focus was a bit different. So this becomes very important in the Baroque era. In terms of style, we're going to think about it as very showy, very ornamented, very frilly. Imagine grand palaces, elaborate costumes, and music that really reflects energy. Everything in the Baroque is very busy, 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 busy. Even the very slow pieces or slow movements out of works, we really have lots of ornamentation. Everything is so detailed, and this reflects society at the time as well. So you will see it in their costumes, in the way people designed architecture. We also have this in music. Everything is decorated to the T. And I love Baroque music, so my instrument, the recorder, falls highly into this time period. And like I said, the slow movements very ornamented. When you get to the fast movements, it's extremely busy. So many notes in such a short span of time. So for our revision listening extract, just to get a grip on Baroque music, I have linked below for you Bach's Toccata and Fugue in D minor. I'm also linking John Playford's The Duke of Norfolk so that you can listen to some different instrumentation. So with the Bach, you will be hearing an organ, but with the Playford, you'll be hearing a mixture of instruments, including my very favorite, the recorder. Then we move on to classical music. So classical music is segmented in time as from 1750 to 1820. Now, of course, we know that this doesn't mean the 1st of January, 1750 to the 31st of December, 1820, but you get the picture. It's for our own brains to make sense of what has happened in the past and to make sense of a timeline for this particular music. So regarding elements of classical music, we have clear melodies, a balanced structure, almost like a well-written essay. We have well-written, well-rounded pieces in this time period. We also have focus on form and development. We have use of dynamics. So either playing loud or soft, contrasted, and we have dynamics that can work its way through. It can gradually get louder, gradually get softer, which was not the point in Baroque music. They had terrace dynamics there just because of the make and build of the instruments. But here in the classical era, we're able to really move between dynamics quite nicely because of the new build of instruments and just because of the style in general. So definitely we have balance, clarity, and reason. Everything is structured, everything has a reason, everything is phrased, and it's less busy than the Baroque. According to style, we'll think of this as the orderly era. The music is clear, it's predictable, definitely, even sometimes playful, but there is a clear structure, there is a clear symmetry, lines are important, and you even see this reflected in society of that time, as well as architecture, painting, everything. More relaxed, more stately, more clear. And for a well-rounded listening of classical music, I've linked below Mozart's Eine kleine Nachtmusik. Then we move along to the Romantic era from 1820 to 1900. And regarding elements, we have emotional melodies, rich harmonies, dramatic contrasts, so loud versus soft or slow versus fast. Everything is dramatic. You have contrast within a single movement or a single piece or a single work. And the focus here definitely lies on expressing feelings and stories. So the romantic word here comes from freedom in expression. Finally, the composers were able to write down their own feelings, their own music. They were not bound now by patrons as much. Yes, patrons still existed. People still paid and commissioned composers to write certain works in the style that they wanted it. But the composers also had more freedom now. They could write their own things besides writing for other people. Some composers broke away completely from authority, and they could just express their feelings. They could express what they're experiencing in nature or in relationships. And so we call it romantic feeling. This characterizes the Romantic era. So style, like I said, we can think about this era as the feeling era. So after the orderly era comes the feeling era. This music is full of drama, passion, sometimes even a touch or lots of touches of rebellion. And speaking of feeling and expression, this was really characterized in the music by chromaticism, new forms and usage of instruments, virtuosity. The composer in this era was very important, but also the performer became very important in this era. So before it was more focused on the music, composer, yes, love and respect to them. The musicians, by the way, they're playing it, but it's mostly the composer that we love. However, in the Romantic era, there comes this thing about the performer as genius, the performer as celebrity almost. We get performers like Paganini, who also composed his own works, but we get these performers and they become really famous. And today we know and understand musicians and performers as being the main thing. But before the Romantic period, this wasn't a thing. So it started in the Romantic period. We have different types of salon pieces. We have virtuosic concertos. Everything is loud and dramatic and extra in this period. And for good listening, I've linked a Chopin nocturne for you to listen to. Next, we fall into 20th century music or modern music. So we're at the period of 1900. And because we're looking at 20th century, it's 1900 to 2000, basically. And this is where everything goes wild. There is a multitude of different types of musics here. So whereas we could classify the other eras as frilly, ornamented, stately, orderly, dramatic, and feelingy, we can say a lot more things about the 20th century because they were sort of all over the place, okay? And it's reflective of society as well. Lots of wars in this time, lots of different things happening, globalization, modernization, people coming together, people hating each other, lots of things. So definitely music always reflects the society from which it comes, and no different here. So 20th century music elements include a wide variety and a wide range of styles. Think a musical buffet. Anything and everything that you could want or have, it's there. We have experimentation with sound and rhythm. We have the breaking of traditional rules completely. And this is the time period in which jazz and electronic music and such things really take off. In terms of style, this is the anything goes era. Composers here were free to explore new sounds and new ideas, making this a super diverse and exciting period. We also have the conductor, finally, as being someone of great influence, or the conductor as celebrity. So very interesting. For 20th century music, yes, it is very vast, but I've linked below the Firebird Suite, the introduction by Ivan Fischer, for your listening pleasure. Now we're going to break up some 20th century genres because 20th century is so vast. So we'll move into Impressionism, Neoclassicism, and Minimalism, which is what Cambridge advises us to listen to and to go through. However, they do throw in some jazz and musical things, so we'll look into that as well. So 5 more little subgenres coming up, and 5 more listening examples for you to go through and to tie up your revision for IGCSE music. So first things first, let's look into Impressionism. So this genre sort of goes through 2 centuries, late 19th century, early 20th century, but it does fall under 20th century genres. So regarding elements, we have evocative melodies, shimmering harmonies, and a focus on creating a specific feeling or image. So think of Impressionist paintings. They sort of blur the lines. It creates a feeling or an impression of something, a fleeting moment, but it's not clear. Same thing in the music. It's not going to be clear now. It creates an image. It takes you almost to a dreamland, but it's not clear. It is very beautiful, by the way, and we know this to be true. There's also parallel harmonies. Sometimes thirds are missing in action to sort of obscure the tonality, blur the lines a bit, but it is so beautiful. And in terms of style, we can definitely think of it as daydream music. The melodies here are light and airy, and the harmonies create a sense of mystery and wonder. And no surprise here, I have linked below for you Claude Debussy's Clair de Lune for this specific genre of Impressionism. Enjoy! Then we move on to Neoclassicism, which is a very early 20th century type subgenre. In terms of elements, this music borrows from the Baroque and classical eras, with clear melodies, a balanced structure, just with a modern twist. In terms of style, here we're going to imagine a remix. Composers here took inspiration from the past, but added their own new flavors to the mix. They added their 20th century style and created a fresh take on old compositional type ideas. And at times when listening to this music, you wouldn't be able to tell, ooh, is this actually a classical or Baroque type piece, or is it actually neoclassical? So Cambridge, they won't be unfair to you. If it is a neoclassical piece that they want you to listen to in the exam, they will make it clear and they might ask you things about neoclassicism, what makes the extract neoclassicist, but they won't just expect you to off the bat name something as neoclassicist unless it's as obvious as, you know, a harpsichord playing something very modern or very jazzy, for instance. But that is the way in which Cambridge should ask their questions in the exam. Below I've linked for you Igor Stravinsky's Concerto in E flat for violin and orchestra, so have a good listen to that and you will definitely know what neoclassicism is all about. Then we move on to minimalism. So this is a mid-20th century and onwards genre. Regarding elements, we have simple melodies, repetitive patterns, and a strong focus on creating mood and atmosphere rather than creating a complex story. This is definitely musical meditation. It's very cyclic, very repetitive, and in terms of style, we are thinking a calming soundscape. The music uses few elements that build, and it definitely builds in a way that can be hypnotic and peaceful, and a very good composer of minimalist music is Philip Glass. So below I have linked for you Metamorphosis 1 by Philip Glass. Then we're looking at jazz. So jazz starts up a little bit earlier than the other 3 20th century genres that we have just spoken about. It almost starts late 19th century and then into 20th century, just like Impressionism. But jazz and musicals, which we will look at here after, like I said before, Cambridge doesn't explicitly specify that we have to go through these. So these are 2 extra, but they have come up in exams before. So we are going to look at them. We're just going to discuss them, tie them up in a few sentences, and that will be our revision. So of course, like I said, this is not a full teaching video. You would have to ponder your work that your teacher or tutor gives you in class. This is just a revision video to tie everything up and to make sure that you feel ready and prepared for your listening exam. So elements of jazz include improvisation, of course. So this is playing music that is not written. Yes, musicians make it up. Seems as if they make it up on the spot, but they do practice improvisations. They make it up sometime. And then when they do perform, they can pull from various improvs, mix them together, maybe make up something new on the spot, but it's definitely not thumb-sucking, as some people may believe. You can't bluff on stage. Improvisation is actually very difficult and a very complicated and memorized jazz thing for jazz musicians. So never look down on improv, please people. Then we also have a strong focus on syncopation, so accents on the offbeats. And people also describe this as accents on the beats that make you want to move, very interestingly. There's definitely a strong focus on groove and feeling, and regarding style, we definitely have something like a musical conversation going on here. Jazz musicians often play off of each other or off of each other's melodies and energy, and it creates a spontaneous and energetic type sound, whether they're jamming together or practicing a very serious written down work with moments of improvisation. Below for listening, I've linked John Coltrane's Giant Steps. Then we move on to musicals finally. So this starts us off in the early 20th century onwards, and of course we still have musicals today being written, composed. I know you know Hamilton, which even includes some rap music, which is very cool and very great, very well thought out, very much genius. Elements here include storytelling through dance and song with catchy melodies, dramatic orchestration, and blends of different musical styles. We also have moments of talking, of acting, of just normal scenes, full-on drama/play style, and then moments of singing, and of course music and orchestra in the background, all of that. In terms of style, we'll think of this as a drama with music. Musicals definitely take stories and turn them into big, splashy productions with unforgettable songs. So of course there are many musicals in this life that you can go and listen to or watch on stage, preferably, because that is where musicals should be. But there are definitely snippets and scenes and songs from various musicals that you can go ahead and listen to in preparation for musical questions or extracts in your exam. But below I've linked the famous I Dreamed a Dream scene from the 2012 movie version of Les Miserables. So that is that. We've gone through everything that we need to touch on for our Cambridge IGCSE listening exam, and I hope that these tips on how to recognize a piece from a certain genre has helped, and that this ties up some nice revision for you for your IGCSE Cambridge music listening paper.